made up.
Dinosaurs are documented too. I've never seen one of those either. I don't know if they
You don't believe in
exist.
dinosaurs? This is the One Step Better podcast, helping small businesses make wins each and every week. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the One Step Better podcast. I am Mike Schaefer, and with me this week is our great friend, Matt Patrick. Matt, welcome.
What's up, man? How are you doing?
Doing well. Question of the week. It's going to be a fun one. I'm not going to ask you yet, though.
Okay.
That's because hiring is difficult, and dealing with people is difficult, and finding the right people is difficult. And so it is one of the most important things a company can do is get the right people in the right seats and equip them and unleash them to do their job and make a difference in this world. And in today's times, probably unlike other times in the most recent past, it is difficult to find the right people in any roles. And we are seeing this especially in a lot of the service industries, whether it's restaurants or retail or whatever it may be. I know that I deal with this a lot with home care companies, whether they're home health, hospice, whatever it may be, is finding the right qualified people is a really difficult place in this world right now.
Hard.
It is difficult. It's extremely difficult. And beyond that, it is frustrating.
Can be.
So we're going to talk a little bit today about that problem. We're going to come up with some of the things that we think may be causing this, and maybe hopefully walk away with some things that you could do a little bit different if you are a leader of an organization that has some hiring decisions. Yep. But we have to start with something a little bit lighter that may be a little bit too much over the top.
Yep.
So tell me, Matt, have you ever had a supernatural encounter or experience?
There was this one time that I got stood up in this, I've never had the experience, but the universe is a really big place. I often wonder if we're like the really small ant and there's another world, like that's Dr. Seuss, right? I think it's like we're the small thing and there's something really big above us and we're like, don't even know that they exist.
This is just a giant snow globe.
Yeah. I often wonder because I'm like, perspective would change a lot there. I can't imagine we're the only ones, but it seems like odd that we would have not found them by now.
I want to believe and I don't want to believe at the same time.
What do you think? What do you do?
No, I've never.
You ever been probed by an alien?
Have you ever? So there's a great SNL skit. I think it's Kate McKinnon that's in it, and it's.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I see that. She's a redneck kind of.
Yes,
good.
And everybody starts laughing. Anyway, no, I've never had a supernatural experience. I would love to be out in the woods hiking someday and come across a Sasquatch and just have like Bigfoot walking by.
That's not supernatural.
Hey,
right?
how's
that's
it going?
Just a weird animal that's we never.
I think that would be so cool, though. Do you believe in Bigfoot? What about the Loch Ness Monster? Do you fall for any of these?
No. But the giant squid thing, I do. I think there's some animals that we don't see that they're too deep in the ocean.
Giants, like those are documented real things. It's not just something that's made up.
Dinosaurs are documented too. I've never seen one of those either. I don't know if they.
You don't believe in dinosaurs?
Me and Kyrie Irving, right?
Oh my goodness.
I do believe in dinosaurs.
Is the world flat? You know who I want to hire? I want to hire a Sasquatch. And so if you ever come across a Sasquatch,
collections,
we're going to hire them
for collections, or
sure.
for moving muscle around.
And that's simply because hiring is difficult.
Hiring is difficult. That's right.
And so we're going to get back on topic.
Okay.
So hiring people is, we joke around, but I truly would hire a Sasquatch if that was a thing.
All right.
That'd be cool. But hiring is difficult. We find this all over the place in all the different types of companies that we work with, regardless of industry, regardless of service sector. It's all, even our own organization as a whole, we find it difficult to hire people. What do you think are causing some of those issues?
We've talked about it before. I think people have choices today. The idea that I have to go work in the location right next to where I live in a production environment where I'm like, let's say, manufacturing steel or coal or working in some kind of plant or factory. Those days are gone. We don't do that stuff in America anymore. So everything we do is
coming back.
It's service-based businesses. The internet has changed how we work and where we work. And I think that flexibility got enhanced over the last couple of years. I don't know if necessarily it wasn't already there, but it definitely triggered like I have to make a change anyway. Well, might as well make that change today. The pool of who you can work for and where you want to work at is bigger than it's ever been. And you're kind of seeing a sorting of the ways of, hey, this is a terrible place to work, and I don't like who I'm working with, and I don't like what I'm doing. Oh, wait, I don't have to do this job. I wouldn't say our overall employment numbers have really dramatically changed. I mean, I know that the numbers are down, but I bet you if you looked at the actual true number in the long term, the workforce hasn't changed. It just has moved and shifted.
It's going to be a little blip.
Yep, I think so. I don't know that. This is my own philosophy. I would say that in our world, our clients, but also ourselves, the ability to be flexible and use technology to the best of its abilities has allowed us to have a larger pool to hire from.
I also think we've made hiring difficult a little bit intentionally, from the standpoint of we have a very specific type of person that we want working here. And, if this was just simply any warm body could fill the seat, hiring probably isn't as difficult there. But as we've narrowed that down to, we want this profile, this person with this experience that has this skill set. Anytime you add a qualifier there, it's going to start to make that funnel a little bit smaller.
It's just like marketing. I mean, we talked about this with intention. We talked about this before on a previous podcast, which is the idea of being intentional with your ideal client profile, right? And so we have an ideal client that we think we can best serve, and we want that to be the case that we attract and get those types of clients 100% of the time. That doesn't always happen. I think it's the same with recruiting, in that we have an ideal employee profile that we're going to be really intentional about, which means we're picky, and the process is going to be arduous to get into our sphere. But once you do, we have a high chance of success, which is what we want.
Yeah. And, some of the ways that I've seen people try to make that hiring difficulties a little bit easier is they have, reduced their standards. They've started to think through a little bit.
You have a warm body and you can fog a mirror, you're hired.
I don't know. We don't really deal with a ton of people that go that far. We have some.
We have a couple clients.
Yeah.
We have a couple clients. I'm like, okay, I guess this person showed up for the interview.
I've seen more along the lines of, I need a person that can do XYZ skill set and they have ABC character qualities. And that may have turned into, I'm looking for one person that only has XYZ skill set. I'm looking for another person that has ABC character qualities. And so I've seen some organizations that have just kind of, I don't know if thrown up their hands is the right way of saying it, but almost just resigned to the fact that it's going to be difficult. And they've tried to come up with some creative ways around, I need people, and something has to give here in order to get people.
This person can do the job. They may not be best for my organization, and I'm willing to live with that.
Yeah.
I would hope that we are not willing to live with that.
Right. That's a scary road to go down.
Yep. You've let crazy in the building, or you've let a culture cancer into your building. You've decided to change your culture to fit that person.
It's a short-term fix.
Correct.
That can cause some long-term issues.
Correct.
Yeah. Thankfully, we try not to do that.
We try not to.
But for some reason,
stuff happens.
You gave me a job.
I know. Mike's still working here, and we can't fix that.
Can't get rid of me.
You're fired, Mike.
Yeah.
You're still rehired. Please come back. See, that's the problem.
And do we need to report that into the labor statistics?
No.
So, finding people is, we talk a lot internally about finding people, the right person, the right way, is kind of part of our sales and marketing functions more than it is an HR function.
It needs to be.
Yeah. But because the idea that, we post a now hiring sign on a billboard or on our, marquee that's out front and say that that's our recruiting efforts, in today's world, that's not good enough anymore.
No.
We have to go out and try to find the people that are going to best serve our customers and our clients and try to entice them any way possible to come and work for us.
Very much so. I mean, we've talked about this a lot, which is the idea of, I think recruiting, the way we've traditionally done it historically, has been equivalent to inbound marketing, which is we have really cool ads, or we have an ad up at Indeed or whatever you want to say. And when somebody finds that ad and reaches out to us, we'll take that and we'll see if they're the right fit for the job. The reality of it is this needs to be an outbound sales strategy of, we're going to go recruit for the best people available. We're going to be intentional with how we're going to do that. So that could be going to events like we do on the marketing side. We're going to career fairs. We're going to meet the firms at different universities around the area. This could be, hey, how do we attract and make sure people know that we're looking for people in this role? It could be asking for referrals, which is asking for our employees. It could be asking for clients. It could be asking our network. Same thing, outbound marketing strategy to go find the best people to work for our team. In
that same vein, you talk about the marketing strategy piece of that. A lot of times our sales team will sell a deal, they'll bring on a new client because that person we're talking to, they need a service that we have, but they know us, they trust us, and they're going to buy from us based on that. Employee referrals are great places to get more people into your recruiting funnel because your employees have people that they know and people you trust them, and they can go out and say, hey, buddy, that may be a good
It's a really good place to work. You should like working here.
Yeah. And so, I think one of the solutions for how difficult hiring it can be at times is to try to incentivize your workforce that you currently have to go and bring in those friends, those people that they know, leverage their networks and incentivize
your best
that.
Employees. They always say, you're the average of the 5 people you hang around or whatever. I don't know how that works, but you're one of those things. Nate Bargatze may have said, so I'm not sure that.
Oh, goodness gracious.
So who knows if it's actually true. Anyway, that being said, it's like the right employees are going to be more than likely friends with people that should be similar to them in style. If you're bringing in bad employees, you may be getting referrals to another bad employee. But if you're trying to target your best employees and those best employees refer people that are ideal fits for you, that's perfect. We have to pay a lot of money to use recruiting services or to place ads or the cost of a bad hire. All those extra costs go into that. Well, if you can kind of narrow that pool down some to more of an ideal fit, even better.
Yeah. One of the biggest mistakes that I see a lot of businesses make in their recruiting / hiring efforts is that they're not always doing it. They see it as a spigot that they turn on when they need somebody and they turn off when they don't need somebody. I think that's a big mistake because soon, it's just, if a crisis happened in my life today, it's too late to develop a network of people that's going to help me through that. I needed to do that a year ago, 5 years ago, whatever. It's too late in the moment that you're in need to actually go and have the infrastructure built that is going to support that. In the same way, the second that you realize, hey, I need somebody today, it's too late to find that person. Not that you can't ever do that, but you're putting yourself in a bind with zero margin in your operations when that happens.
Why do you think that most business owners, I would say most, don't do what you're saying? Why do you think that is? Why do you think they don't always? Why aren't they always recruiting? What kind of some of the limitations that cause that problem?
I think a part of it is just not a lack of intentionality, a lack of forethought, or even sometimes just a hyper optimism of I'll be able to get the person whenever I need to get the person. Those are the more intangible things I think people think through and struggle with, and it's just. I'll push that off. Oh crap, it's here. But also it's simple, sometimes it's budget. Hiring is not, it's not cheap.
I was thinking it was more budget because I remember in the beginning when I started this process, when I've hired my first employee, second, I think we talked about this way back when, which was the idea of, man, I thought I may be able to afford one employee, but I probably needed three. And I think we all get to that point like, okay, I don't want to waste any money. But the reality is training and develop employees takes a lot of time. There's a lot of runway in getting that right. You don't bat 1,000. So, hey, we have all the positions filled. That overly optimistic problem that I generally have this idea of everything's going to work out perfectly. Yeah. That's probably not reality. We have been our most successful when we hired 2 when we needed 1. And we're also our most successful when we never turn that spigot off. When we turn the spigot off to turn it back on, there's a long delay, and now you're behind the curve. But the reality is if you always were recruiting, you always have the opportunity for the next best employee you've ever hired.
You always use an example, kind of basketball or sports related, about that.
Yep, recruiting. So think about like a NBA team, or I'll use a college. It's probably more apropos. So if you're Coach K or if you're coaching a major college and you had a wonderful recruiting season, I'll use Nick Saban as a perfect example. He's got 85 scholarships to give. I'm pretty sure he never stops recruiting because he has 85 scholarships to give, but the next top 5 recruits are still going to get a scholarship if they're going to come to Alabama. Coach K has 12 scholarships to give in basketball. If LeBron James is coming out, guess what? He now has an opening.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. Your next best employee, your next best employee you've ever hired could be your next one. So don't turn your spigot off. If you always have a least performing employee, but you also have man, this works out great. That's awesome. I want to have a next LeBron James on my team.
I always think through if you can trace back some of the most successful moments in your entire business operational lifestyle to people.
Always.
In some way, somehow, it's always a person. And if that next rock star came up when you didn't need them and you brought them on because you knew that they were going to be a rock star, that's going to be success for you at some point somewhere.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Most of the time, it's pretty quick. That's why we don't ever stop hiring. It's all, and I always find if we can narrow instead of broaden, but narrow that ideal recruit down a little bit, it makes the always hiring piece relatively easy. Because when we can say, I need somebody with this skill set, this talent, this experience, this character quality, whatever it is, and I can put some systems in place to look for that in my recruiting efforts, I know that if somebody makes it through those first maybe couple of layers of my system, they're worth looking at.
Yep.
And so it's when we say we're always hiring or always recruiting, it's not that we are spending
We're not always
hours
hiring.
and hours in interviews. It's that our systems and processes are always turned on so that when that LeBron James, let's say John Morant shows up, and it's a very clear, hey, we need that guy right now.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say we're always hiring. We're always recruiting, right? That to me, I would say what we could have done better that we haven't done as great as we wish we were. We probably have been more inbound marketing analogy towards an out versus outbound. I think what we need to improve upon our own self would be like, hey, we're going to go find more of the best people. Not that we haven't hired great people, but I think maybe the quantity we want to hire is not as good as it or as high as it could be because we kind of been more passive than we probably should be. I like that. So that's an area we can improve for sure.
We got to have, and it's a bigger picture, long-term, thought process. I'm not looking for a person that's going to come in and be a great employee for 3 months. I'm looking for an employee that's going to come in and be great for 10 years. And now there is a level of that hyper optimistic view that, I talked about earlier that comes with that. But I would much rather default to, I'm looking for that person that's going to be a 5-year employee than somebody who's going to come in and I'm not certain if they're going to make it, 6 months, 12 months. And it changes, is this somebody that I want to spend the next 2,000, 4,000, 8,000 hours with, or is this somebody who is going to grate on me and get on my nerves within the first, 400 hours?
4 minutes.
4 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah. And so I think it's important to understand. The only other thing I will correct you on is you mentioned Nick Saban. Let's just keep in mind that Jimbo Fisher at A&M does have the #1 recruiting class by far in the history of the world.
Truckload
ever.
of cash.
It's legal now.
I guess
Not
that's
against
true.
the rules.
We'll see how long it lasts. Hey, 1 year doesn't make a program.
It doesn't.
When he has a couple of those championship rings, we'll start talking some more.
It doesn't.
I go back, we go back to some of the industries we work with. Just, we know this is not, our world and a restaurant owner is a lot different.
Yeah.
They have a shift they have to fill right then to cook. They also, if you're in home care, it's, I've got this many people that need care tonight and I don't have enough people to serve them. What causes that to be the answer when, oh my gosh, I have no cook in the kitchen tonight. They've called in sick and I have no backup plan. Or I only have 3 servers and I need 10. What happened to get to that point?
In those industries, there's always the balance of margins. And I think there's an overall fear of I can't have 40 people on payroll for a 20-person need and overpay everything. And sometimes you can swing that pendulum to the point where I have 20 people on payroll for a 20-person need, and you have zero margin for I got sick, I need to whatever it may be, or somebody quits. And so you have to find that healthy balance between I have enough people that are already in the door employees that can fill those shifts, as well as some people on the bench that are coming up. Because in those worlds, I'm going to churn X amount of people. I remember talking with one, it was a home care company, and they said, we have to interview 20 people a week in order to hire the 5 people a week that we're going to need because of our turnover. Once you have that level of understanding of your business, then you can start to look just like from a sales and marketing standpoint. I know that I need to make X amount of job postings in order to get, Y amount of candidates to get to the point where I can interview 20 people a week. And to the extent you don't do that and you're not constantly doing that, it's easy to find yourself in the situation of somebody called in sick or somebody quit or they're not showing up. And I've got to, if I'm the owner of a restaurant, I got to jump on the grill because nobody's showed up.
I'm an owner. It is what it is. I'll say my only caveat to that person who says, okay, I've got 20 interviews to get to 5 hires. And let's say I'm flat. That means I'm churning 5 employees. In that client's case, it's probably not even, it's 0.5% of their employee turnover is a week. So you figure that's 25% of their employees are turning over a year. That's when I would start looking at improvements to, am I identifying the right type of people? So how can I be more successful on the actual hire itself?
Yeah.
What am I doing to train and develop people I do hire once they are here so they don't want to leave? How do I provide a better experience or a better place for my people to work so they don't want to go look for their job? Am I not paying them enough? Am I not providing them enough flexibility? Am I not treating them the way they should be treated? All those things go into that, but it starts with having a process to identify, and I'd say make it more objective than subjective, your recruiting process of, I got to be intentional to recruit the number of people I need to have. I can't wait. Can't wait too long.
The number one pushback I get from certain industries that don't see value in trying to train up and develop employees and provide good culture is I just simply don't have time for it. It's number one pushback I get. I don't have, that's all, pie in the sky, fluffy, just feels, whatever. And I don't have time for that because I got work to do. And it's just short-sighted. At some point, you're going to have to develop your team, whether that is on the front end or in the recruiting process, whatever it may, you're going to have to develop a system and teams around making this actually work.
Yep.
I think about the fast food world.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Chick-fil-A's turnover is almost 3 times better than McDonald's. And
they sell the same thing.
They do basically the same thing. They have quick food that you can go and get. But how they treat their team and how they view these things has mattered. In a world where employees are so valuable and they're hard to find and they're hard to recruit out of other companies, these little things like, I'm going to care for my team, I'm going to develop my team, I'm going to train my team, I'm going to treat them like people and not just a widget that has to produce.
They have a rigid hiring process.
Yeah.
And most fast foods don't. Most fast food, a lot of times, it's almost fog and mirror. And Chick-fil-A's hiring process is not like you would just think, fill out an application, you get hired. No, they're going to make sure you're a fit for their team. But people want to work there. They don't leave. They don't turn over. There's a progression path. They develop their people to do other life skills besides just working fast food.
And it's not because, hey, we may just pay a couple dollars an hour more. Because a lot of times
they do sometimes, but not always.
Yeah. And so there's more to hiring, especially if you're looking for service workers. It's more than just what's my hourly rate.
Yep.
And the way that this used to be viewed 20 years ago, 10 years ago is different in today's world. And you have to adapt to that.
Absolutely. I think, we've talked about intentionality last week, and we'll talk about intentionality a lot. As an owner in any role you're in, you decide how your business is going to operate. You decide what's going to matter. You decide what your decision you have to make as far as growth, hiring, culture. All those things matter, but it's up to you to lead the way you want it to be. The fact that I'm busy doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The fact that I've got a pile of work doesn't matter. The fact that we're understaffed doesn't matter. I let it get there. It's my job to fix it.
Yep. You can either be the nail or you could be the hammer.
Correct.
And I would much rather be the hammer. That's a good point. My encouragement for our listeners is to just think through how they view the hiring process. We understand that it's difficult. Doesn't matter what industry you're in. It is very difficult to find the right people and get them into a role and train them up. It is very difficult. But how are you going to do that in a way that encourages more people, like the people that you're wanting to attract and hire, to come to your organization? And at the same time, what are you doing to your existing employees to make sure that they're staying around? It's a two-sided coin. Because if you can bring on, if you have a good quality flow of candidates and you have a good quality training program for the team that your existing team that you have, you're going to have, both sides kind of taken care of. And so I would encourage you to think through how you view that and what you're doing to make sure that you're doing that well. Thanks for listening to the One Step Better podcast. We really appreciate you taking time out of your day to listen to us. I'd really appreciate it if you would take some time to rate us 5 stars on your podcast player of choice and make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you never miss out on another episode. Thanks and have a great day.